Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled you're here with us today. We are going to be unpacking a truly fascinating science-backed framework from couples therapist Fig O'Sullivan. Listen, if you're sitting there right now trying to figure out how to save a damaged relationship, maybe when you feel like you've completely ruined, I want you to just take a deep breath. Seriously, the answers you're looking for, they aren't where you think they are. We're going to completely flip your perspective today by looking at the literal biological reality of how human bonds break, and more importantly, exactly how they get rebuilt. I want you to really let this quote sink in. Most repair attempts are essentially redecorating a burning house. It's such a powerful metaphor, right? Because if you've been desperately trying to fix things with endless apologies or grand gestures or these logical promises to change, you're probably feeling exhausted and honestly so confused as to why none of it is landing. Well, it's totally valid to feel that desperation, but this burning house metaphor perfectly explains why your attempts are failing. You're using cognitive logical tools to decorate the living room while your partner's nervous system is quite literally on fire. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First up, the biology of broken trust. Second, apologies versus proof of work. Third, the biological repair protocol. Fourth, pursuers and withdrawers. And finally, the true timeline of healing. Having this structure is going to give us a nice predictable path as we navigate some pretty heavy concepts. Let's kick things off with section 1, the biology of broken trust. We really have to start with a hard biological truth drawn directly from the source material. Relational damage, whether we're talking about a massive betrayal, like an affair, or just years of slow emotional neglect, it registers in a part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. And here's the kicker. That is the exact same region that processes physical pain. To your partner's biology, a broken bond is a literal physical survival threat. Just look at these dueling brain systems. On one side, you've got the amygdala, that's the brain's threat center, and right now, it is screaming danger. It's constantly scanning for threats, every text message, every look, every sigh. Then on the other side, you have the prefrontal cortex. That's the logic center. But because of the trauma, it's partially offline. It literally cannot process your logic right now. This completely explains why your partner might literally flinch when you walk into the room. The amygdala is running the entire show and basically blocking out the logical prefrontal cortex, which brings us to the absolute core paradigm shift of this entire explainer. Read this with me. A broken relationship is not an emotional problem. It is a biological one. Wow, that changes everything, doesn't it? If you're delivering this carefully worded, perfectly logical apology to a limbic system that is currently blaring alarm bells, you're essentially lecturing a drowning person on proper swimming techniques. They don't need a lecture on backstroke right now. They need you to just pull them to shore. And this brilliantly illustrates our next topic, section 2, apologies versus proof of work. To really get the mechanics of repair, let's look at a fun economic analogy, the fiat apology. So in the real economy, fiat currency only has value because a government says it does, right? There's no physical gold actually backing it up. Well, a fiat apology works the exact same way. It's like printing emotional currency, saying, I'm sorry, or I love you over and over again without the backing of any tangible behavior change. And just like in the real world, what happens when you print too much unbacked money? Massive inflation. Each I'm sorry actually becomes worth less and less until eventually your apology feels like an insult to your partner. Their nervous system keeps a very strict biological ledger, and it absolutely does not accept empty promissory notes. So what does that biological ledger actually accept? It accepts proof of work. This is the total opposite of a fiat apology. Proof of work is the actual unglamorous caloric energy that you expend to cross over into your partner's reality. It's the really hard stuff. It's staying present in the room when every single fiber of your being just wants to run away. It's putting your phone away without having to be asked. It's listening to their pain for the 100th time without getting defensive. This is the verified hard data their brain desperately needs to actually begin feeling safe again. So, how do we actually do this? Let's get into section 3, the biological repair protocol. This actionable protocol is entirely non-negotiable. Why? Because it mirrors exactly how the human nervous system moves from a state of threat to a state of trust across 4 very distinct steps. Step 1 is safety. Step 2 is connection. Step 3 is cognitive access. And finally, step 4 is problem solving. And, here's where almost everybody messes up. We try to jump straight to step 4. We try to fix it, make plans, set boundaries right out of the gate. But if you do that, you're building this disastrous time machine. You're basically living in the future, trying to fix the logistics while your partner's nervous system is completely stuck in the past trauma. You have to establish biological safety first so that their logical brain can actually eventually come back online. To help you nail that step 1 safety, the source provides a really brilliant tool. It's called the RAVE method, and it only takes about 90 seconds. Reflect, accept, validate, explore. Now, I don't want you to think of this as some clever communication hack. No, this is a direct biological intervention. When your partner is panicking, you reflect what you hear. You accept the reality without arguing. You validate that their reaction totally makes sense, and you explore what they need. You are literally using your physical presence to shift their autonomic nervous system right out of fight or flight and into rest and connect. Now, let's talk about why things get so tangled up in section 4, pursuers and withdrawers. This right here is the attachment variable, and it explains exactly why even our most well-intentioned repair attempts completely backfire. We constantly try to soothe our partners using our own wiring instead of understanding what their specific nervous system actually needs. So let's contrast the 2 primary protective strategies. On one side, we have the pursuer. When the bond is threatened, they move toward the threat, because they have this terrifying fear of abandonment. They demand, they criticize, they escalate. Now, on the other side, we have the withdrawer. They move away from the threat out of a deep, deep fear of failure and shame. They just shut down and retreat. A pursuer desperately needs demonstrated reassurance and active engagement, but a withdrawer, they need simplified pathways and absolute safety from being shamed. So what happens when you put a pursuer and a withdrawer together in a crisis? You get this incredibly destructive pursue-withdraw cycle. It's a loop. The pursuer pushes harder, which obviously causes the withdrawer to retreat further, which then panics the pursuer even more. Breaking this cycle is literally the work of a lifetime. Pursuers have to do the completely counter-instinctual work of softening their approach, which to their nervous system feels like just accepting abandonment. And withdrawers, they must stay and engage, which to them feels like voluntarily walking into a burning fire. It requires enormous, incredible courage from both partners to genuinely heal each other, which brings us to our final stretch. Section 5, the true timeline of healing. All right, let's do a quick reality check and answer the one desperate question every single couple asks. How long is this going to take? 18 to 36, that is the number of months clinical research suggests it takes to genuinely recover from a major relational rupture, like an affair. I know. That is a jarring number to hear, but we really need to set realistic expectations right now. The road ahead is grueling. It takes immense patience, and trust me, it is entirely nonlinear. We can actually map this out visually across 3 phases of trust rebuilding. Months 1 to 6, that's phase 1, survival. You are just weathering the emotional storms. Months 6 to 18 are phase 2, understanding. This is where the deep, heavy therapeutic work really happens. And then 18 months and beyond is phase 3, integration. Seeing this visually really demonstrates that healing is a multi-year journey And remember, trauma memories are stored with their full emotional charge. A random smell or a song might pop up and catapult your partner right back to day one. That's not a setback, okay? That is literally just the amygdala doing its job. So, the crucial point to take away from all this is right here. The hurt will always be a feature in your relationship. Comforting each other is the missing experience. The pain of the betrayal or the neglect, it never entirely vanishes. But actually, scratch that. Instead of letting that terrify you, realize that it becomes a permanent opportunity. It's a chance for you to provide the comfort, the safety, and the reassurance that your partner has probably been seeking since childhood. You actually get to become the healer in the exact place they were hurt. I want to end our explainer today with this final, really provocative question. Are you trying to go back to normal, or are you ready to build something real? Because true repair isn't about saving the old relationship. Think about it. The old relationship is exactly what led to the breakdown in the first place. True repair is about having the guts to use this biological crisis as a catalyst. It's about forging a deeper, more honest, and fundamentally real connection right out of the ashes. The science absolutely shows it's possible if you're both willing to put in the proof of work. Thanks so much for learning with me today.